What are the latest developments in this investigation so far? How long do you think the judicial proceedings will take?
I think before talking about judicial proceedings, we have to talk of the internal police investigation, which will imply hearing out everybody involved in the case, the family, any witnesses, and an internal and contradictory set of police interrogation. This is a very, very, very unusual incident. I cannot recall any instance of the police shooting someone within his own flat, at the door of his flat, as it seems to be. And so I think the matter will be treated with a lot of seriousness.
Well, this was not the first time that the police have been accused of using excessive force in dealing with any suspected cases. Qinduo, here in the Chinese media and among the Chinese public, this case has aroused a lot of interest, has aroused a lot of attention, let's say. What do you think is the most eye-catching for the Chinese people in this case?
Well, I think it's basically falls into the category of this insecurity felt by the Chinese community in the suburban area in Paris. This is not the first case somehow involved, the killing of a Chinese national or Chinese simply living, local Chinese, let's say. Last year, in 2016, there was a tailor also was robbed and basically beaten to death, and 3 teenagers were charged, but basically were accused of committing that case. But then the trial, basically there's no date was set at all. So basically that's the end of the case, and there's a prevailing insecurity felt by the Chinese community. Last year you see also a large-scale demonstration, and then we saw recently one.
Yeah, we have heard about these conflicting accounts by both the French police and the people that are directly affected by this case. The French police say they got a call complaining of big noises from the neighbors upstairs. The police arrived and broke in when they heard children cry in that apartment. Now, a man, according to the police, dashed out and stabbed a policeman with scissors, and while he tried to stab others, another policeman shot him in the chest, killing him. But one of the daughters of the Chinese man, Liu Shaoyo, who was killed, gave this account of what happened. Let's take a look.
Mon père, il voulait pas ouvrir la porte, il avait du coup une main sur la poignée et du coup il a commencé à sortir des ciseaux et tout. Et après moi j'ai fait à mon père, j'ai fait ouvre la porte, c'est pas grave, ouvre la porte et tout. Mais mon père il a dit non, faut pas ouvrir la porte, faut pas ouvrir la porte et tout. Du coup bah après la porte ça a commencé de plus en plus fort et moi j'avais peur et tout. J'ai fait ça s'est arrêté de faire j'ai dit c'est pas la peine de pousser la porte aussi forte et tout. Et après, j'ai dit ça sert à rien. Et après, j'entendais, il n'y avait aucun son derrière la porte et tout. Du coup, bah, ça sonnait encore de plus en plus fort. Et après, la porte, elle s'est ouverte. Il y a eu une petite lumière blanche qui est sortie de la veste.
Excusez-moi, je vais couper. Pourquoi vous avez peur ou pas?
Bah oui, parce que...
C'est pourquoi vous avez peur? Parce que vous pensez que c'est pas des policiers?
Le bruit, c'était violent. Le bruit, il était fort et c'était comme si on défonçait la porte parce que je voyais le truc, la serrure qui commençait à s'ouvrir et tout, du coup ça faisait de plus en plus peur.
Les policiers sont en uniforme?
Non, ils étaient pas en uniforme. Okay. Et après, de toute façon, j'ai pas vu dans le tout, donc quand ils sont rentrés, ils étaient pas en uniforme. Et après, la porte, elle s'est ouverte, et puis il y a un coup qui est parti, et après, je voyais plus mon père, et après, j'ai regardé au sol, et il était déjà au sol, et il y avait du sang qui coulait.
Est-ce que les policiers, ils ont averti ton père, poser son arme?
Non, les policiers, ils ont rien fait, ils ont directement ouvert la porte.
Ils ont direct ouvert le feu?
Oui, ils ont direct ouvert le feu, parce que tout ça, ça s'est passé en même pas 5 secondes. Du coup, on n'a même pas eu le temps de voir tout ce qui s'est passé, tout, parce que c'était trop rapide, la porte elle s'est ouverte, il a reçu le coup, et sur le coup, bah, il était déjà au sol, et on n'entendait plus aucun son. On entendait juste un dernier soupir, et c'est tout.
So, Mr. Godement, let me come to you. I hope you have heard the account of the daughter of Liu Shaoyo clearly enough. What is your understanding of what she said? I mean, from what she said, it actually made sense. Although, you know, it's different from what the police said, it actually made sense. And there was also this very important piece of information that no warning shots were fired before the police just shot and killed this man, according to his daughter.
some background on this. Apparently, it was not the first time that the police was called by neighbors to this flat. So there is clearly an element of several mistakes. One of them probably being a neighbor quarrel. Second, this particular building, it's not in the suburbs, by the way, it's within Paris, but it is a high crime building, very well known. If you Google it, you will find a lot of references. This is even the very building from which the terrorists of January 2015, the first major attack, happened in France. It's likely that the police was on edge. If I look at the Chinese community, indeed, as your commentator said, there have been several demonstrations, one in 2010, one in 2016. But usually these demonstrations are meant to ask for more police action, for better protection against insecurity, usually against other minorities, by the way, because these Chinese immigrants live in rather poor areas. And this is one, the Cité Curiale, the place where this family lives. So I can only think of a series of incidents, plus perhaps the father of the young girl holding scissors. The police is on edge. There have been several knife attacks against either policemen or military in recent weeks because of terrorism. And, you know, the worst happened. By the way, if this is true, there will be sanctions because the rules of engagement for policemen in France are very strict. In fact, there is now a demand by some politicians to loosen these rules of engagement, but right now they are very strict. So we will come to the bottom of it. And I would like to add for your commentator about the other case that he mentioned in 2016. Indeed, in France, justice is rather slow, but it doesn't stop. So the three youngsters who were accused in 2016 of killing a Chinese tailor in suburban Paris will indeed come to trial. This will indeed end with a decision.
Xu Qinduo, how do you react to what Mr. Godement just said? For instance, this is in a high crime area that the police could be on edge. My impression is that does that justify for this kind of excessive action where, according to the daughter of the man, basically no communication was given, no warning, either vocal or any warning shots towards the air was fired?
Well, yes, you know, we usually say if it's a crime area, and then from the perception of the Chinese community, usually it's a crime against them. And they are the victims, so you say this is a crime-ridden area. And also, yes, probably that could be the case because of the terror situation. The police force could be on the edge and they could overreact to whatever happened over there. But then, you know, if because of the overreaction and you killed an innocent man, is that justifiable? That's another point. And of course, that's why we need a full investigation. And also, there's, you know, NGO report. This is also probably part of the reality. Every year, there would be 10 to 15 deaths, basically following the police action. And also, police reality is not a rare thing. You know, there's a frequent accusation, you know, against the French police. But this is also, I guess, an issue to be resolved and to be recognized and to be addressed.
Mr. Godement, I think although the facts of this case still need to be established, however, I wonder whether you would agree that there is a sense of frustration because often the Chinese in those communities are not feeling safe. The reason why they wanted more police action against people of other origins are precisely because they have become victim to the other people, often because they carry cash. Why have nothing been done or enough been done so far to make these Chinese people living in city or suburban areas of Paris feel safer?
It's not that nothing has been done, it's that the general level of insecurity in those particular suburbs is higher than elsewhere. But even in central Paris, tourists who carry a lot of cash are at risk, clearly, with pickpockets, and sometimes it has happened with more violence. Other minorities which are reputedly richer or thought to be richer, for example, Jews, have often left the northeast suburbs of Paris to escape these risks. So the paradox here is that usually the Chinese community protests, as it did in 2010, for example, in northeast Paris also, because it wants more security and more police action. This time, in this particular incident, we may have, I mean, I speak without knowing, again, we haven't ascertained the entire facts, but it's possible that the police overreacted. And in that case, of course, I agree with your commentator. I mean, killing a man at the door of his apartment is unconscionable and will be sanctioned.
Qinduo, what do you think the Chinese community can do to better have their voices heard and protect their own interests better?
Well, as we mentioned earlier, of course, there's Chinese community, or the Chinese as a general, often stereotyped as being weak, not fighting back, carrying a lot of cash going around. So somehow they become these easy targets for robbery or similar incidents, similar criminal cases over there. And I think, of course, on one hand, the government should do more to provide the security, like stronger police presence, and also security cameras being installed in those areas to improve the security. On the other hand, of course, from the Chinese communities' point of view, probably they themselves should do more, like to speak out, to write to the newspapers or talk to the radio shows, talk shows, to express their concern and their fear, and talk to their representatives, talk to their local officials, to let them be aware and increase their awareness of their concern and insecurity.
Mr. Godement, what is your opinion on this question? I mean, besides not carrying a large quantity of cash or moving out of dangerous areas, which sometimes is not a very easy choice, a very easy thing to do, what do you think the Chinese community in Paris, let's say, could do to better protect themselves and have their voices heard so that this kind of incidents can happen less in the future?
I frankly think not much, in terms of being safer than others. There is a general outcry in this society for more security. If you look at the topics of interest to the French in the present presidential campaign, you will find that security and immigration top the list. They're number one and number two. So this is not, exclusive. What is rather important, and I agree with your commentator, is that particularly the young Chinese, who are very often French-born, by the way, now they're usually French citizens, express themselves more and don't hesitate to come out. This is a democracy. They can demonstrate peacefully. Occasionally it's violent. It happened in 2010. That was the case yesterday also, and that's regrettable. But it is, of course, important that this is no longer a community of refugees or a community of illegal immigrants, as it was mostly thought to be 10 years ago.